Good morning, and I am delighted to be joined by Christian May, editor of City AM. Christian, thank you very much for being with us today and for engaging in the Business of Trust programme. We've been discussing trust, we've been discussing the guiding civic principles, and if I may, my first question is, if you had to select one of those principles, which one would you select and for what particular reason?
I'm drawn to the value to society argument because I have always believed that is one of the most important and quite often unsung characteristics of business. Traditionally, it's not always seen as something that is core to their day-to-day activity. It's a byproduct. And actually, if you stop to think about it, employing, innovating, paying your taxes, social responsibility and philanthropy are absolutely integral to the way businesses operate.
I think that's very, very well put. And if I may, comparing, say, financial and professional services with other industries, do you have a view as to how well the sector does against other sectors?
I think that transparency has been rising up the agenda ever since the aftermath and when we got to grips with the aftermath of 2008. And I do think you can see more actively in the city now firms recognising that there is a tremendous value in having an active shareholder base. And I don't think that should be forgotten about, and I'm glad to see firms, particularly in the Square Mile, promoting that and recognising that.
Very good. It leads us nicely on to question two, and we've been talking about the recommendations that our leaders of tomorrow have come up with. And you might have already answered this, but anyway, I'd be interested to see, is there one of those recommendations that you're particularly drawn to, and again, for what reason?
I think, sticking with the value to society argument, there are some very sensible recommendations beneath it. You talk about having a clear purpose beyond profit making. Now, actually, I happen to think that profit making is a good purpose in and of itself, given what flows from it. But I notice above that you talk about having credible business benchmarks so that you can manage your impact. And I do think a lot of companies, both listed and private, do that. But I think they should do it in a more, or should strive to do it in a more proactive and transparent way. I think that's extremely effective. Part of their annual reports, part of their shareholder engagement, any kind of outreach to investors and wider stakeholders. I think you should be able to benchmark what you're doing and how well you're doing it.
We've talked about the complexity of trust and trustworthiness, and that there isn't a single light switch which we can flick from on to off or off to on. But if there had to be one recommendation that you would encourage the stakeholder community that you engage with around developing trust and trustworthiness, what would it be?
I would urge all business leaders, and indeed all executive directors and members of staff, not to be complacent. We're in a political climate that will take no prisoners if the corporate community is seen to be deficient in its own role in public life, and therefore I don't think anybody can be complacent about that. And I think they should be. I think they should have pride in recognising the value that they contribute to society, to the area that they operate in, to the sector they're in, to the overall well-being of the economy. And I think they should be proactive, and I think they should sing it from the rooftops.
Fantastic. So a sense of real proactive engagement, communicating the story, that social purpose that you described so clearly a little earlier.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. My last question really is a binary question. We've talked a lot about trust and the guiding principles in the Business of Trust programme. Can our civic principles and this Business of Trust programme help in restoring trust and trustworthiness?
Well, most definitely. Not least because for as long as you and your successors and other people in the business community are pushing these very propositions, then I think business leaders will find it hard to ignore.
Christian May, thank you very much. We really appreciate you engaging with our Business of Trust programme.
Pleasure.
Thank you.